concerned because I couldn't find the camera. And I was like, then I got home and he didn't have it. And I was like, well, no. I hope Father Ken got it. Maybe I just missed it. So, perfect instrument.
I blame the French.
We blame the French.
Whatever happened to the Italian?
Well, it was a project they started, but it's still in process due to with that and different issues with the Italian government. 600 years later, they still haven't accomplished it. The United States, all the Italian states really have some issues.
Morning, everybody.
It's a German one. Notice how it's more streamlined than the French one. It's a little
Interesting.
simpler.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to.
Also.
Yes. Call that like modern form of didgeridoo.
Weird brass instruments.
Oh, yes.
We should write a book about the quarantine.
That sounds like a French one,
More
more regal.
regal?
More regal.
Nope.
Yes.
Nothing's more regal than the French
No,
one.
the German horn.
Nope. Yum, dun, 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 dun.
Morning, everybody.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
Happy Monday.
It's good to be here with you, ish. We have 9 people joining us so far. We seem a little bright today.
We do.
Oh, sorry, I was just debating how best to do that. Whether to switch.
What flavor of Folgers is that?
Coffee house.
What?
Alright.
That's a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't coffee a weird word?
Everything is weird if you think about it too much.
Coffee. Coffee.
Topeka. Topeka. Topeka.
It's hot in Topeka.
It's hot in
My toes, it's hot.
Topeka.
My toes, it's hot. Excuse me. Find them here.
It's hot in Topeka.
It's hot in Topeka.
Toes Peak. We've been through this playlist a lot. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fireside Chat for Monday morning, June 15th. 1 month warning, your taxes are due in a month, so
This is true,
make
it's
sure that
frightening.
happens.
I finally got one of the documents I was waiting on that didn't get sent to the right place.
I
that I've
see.
been tracking down for a while. So,
Yeah, I've got some work to do on that. I had it all organized, and then COVID hit.
Right. Well, I had some documents from St. Louis because I worked in St. Louis for a few months last year. So in the year 2019.
Check.
And it got sent to the wrong place, and so I've been looking around, and then the quarantine hit, and it put a damper on those plans. So I finally
Yeah,
got it.
it's busy.
Do not worry. All I have to figure out now is parsonage. I have to figure out parsonage.
Yes, we can help you with that.
Good. I need to do that. So
I have there's a formula. I'll look at my taxes from last year.
wonderful.
Parsonage.
Parsonage is tax that you pay on the rooms that you use
Right, that you use.
in the house.
Right.
So it's just an odd tax sort of thing.
I guess this doesn't count because this is ministry.
This is absolutely true.
Although
yeah.
this wasn't ministry last year, I guess. But
Right.
but it is not. I think this is not.
It's only the
pub-
rooms that are private to you.
Right.
So, my bathroom, my study, and my room are all included in a taxable thing.
Right. So I think what they normally do is it's like how much would rent for that space be in the area that you are. So,
Right.
I don't know if we have measurements on your rooms up there, but
I don't know either. Do I get it? I mean, we had some toilet issues this year. Do I get like a discount because of that on my taxes?
you're going to have to ask a professional on that. 'cause
Okay, I think we should.
I don't know if you ask a plumber or a tax guy or gal. But,
Bob Hamilton.
Call Bob Hamilton. He'll be able to.
Bob, can you
settle
help me
it.
with my taxes?
Well, so how are y'all doing? This is our final week for Fireside. I mentioned I had a funeral on Friday because I forgot we had the Chrism Mass on Friday, so it was going to be canceled anyway. So it wasn't me actually that canceled. It was the Chrism Mass that we thought was 2 weeks ago. That's actually this Friday.
week.
So, did you get to go to that?
Not that I know of. As
Okay.
far, I think it's only clergy, but
Okay.
we'll find out.
I presume there's like not even a lunch afterwards. Probably just a mass.
Presume
and,
so, yeah.
Get your oils.
Yeah,
Are you
I'll
going?
I'll be going. I'll be one of the MCs for it.
Okay, great.
So,
So could you bring us some oil, please?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things.
We're
Yeah,
really
but-
running low. I was just thinking about that thing from Elijah with the jug not running dry.
Well, that's
We
true.
talked about First Kings at the Bible study this past Saturday, and heard about Elijah and Elisha. And it was a
My
fun
favorite
study.
part of that story is trying to imagine what they were going to cook with those sticks.
Oh,
Have you ever thought about that?
No.
We're going to take these sticks, and then we will make a meal, and then we will die. And it was just like, that doesn't sound like very...
Dick pie.
Yeah, exactly.
Stick
Stick
pie.
pie. Now, I believe there was a
Stone
little bit
soup.
of flour in the bottom, so like maybe they were using the sticks as like a thickener, or like, I don't know.
I don't know.
But just imagine eating some sticks with your mom in the afternoon,
And then dying.
and then dying.
Yes. Well,
That's it. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that story. It's
I
not.
didn't go into that story too deeply. It was hard to cover 2 Bible books in 75 minutes.
You are the most recent, having probably studied that section. Can you give a little?
No, we glanced over it.
We glance over
Yep.
it.
Yep. So.
Okay, Elijah, and it's the widow of Zerubbabel.
Zarephath?
Zarephath. Elijah does a miracle, but when he gets there, he wants this woman to make a little cake for him, and she says, "No, I was just gathering some sticks, and when I gather these sticks, I will use the last of my flour, and then my son and I shall die."
I was presuming the sticks were for the fire.
Right. I
Right.
always presumed it was part of the meal.
I see.
Just the way it's worded, it does make
It
it
does
seem like it's part
I
of the
see.
meal.
Right.
But
Gathering these sticks, yeah.
Right. It is part of the fire, I presume. But
yeah.
can you just imagine some little sticks there?
And
Mom,
then
I
we will
don't want to
die.
eat another stick. You will eat your you need your daily supply of sticks,
And you will like it.
and you will like it. Yeah. So, and then Elijah ends up making it so that the oil and the flour don't run dry
Right.
for a long period of time. So it's a prophetic action, but it's just a little interesting.
Anyway, our oil is running dry because we do not have a whole lot of chrism oil left.
Even anointing the sick oil, we're starting to run.
Although we have a whole container up here.
Oh, you
It's
told
hanging
me
out
that.
with
I
Luke
forgot about
Skywalker.
that. Yeah.
He's the guardian of the.
That's
I
good.
love that.
Important.
Yeah, I think that. So, pro tip: don't leave that bottle in your car in the heat of the summer.
No.
Because I have done that once, so that's why it's sitting here. Is because I have my little stock or whatever, but sometimes that stock ends up in my pocket, and that pocket ends up wherever, and so I can't find that, so I grab one of those things, and then that sits in my car, but that's not good to keep that sitting in your car.
No,
I had a holy
no.
car for a while because I got anointed with oil because I think kind of expanded and exploded, and
Yep,
Oh,
that
no.
worked.
I mean the whole thing didn't come out, but I think however that worked. But
Right. So interesting fact: the oils that we use during Mass are blessed by the bishop,
right,
and so the oil of the sick and oil of catechumens are blessed, and the oil of chrism is consecrated, which is a slightly higher blessing, essentially, a distinction there. But we can't consecrate chrism. We don't have the right to do so.
Oh, faculties.
We don't have the faculties to do so.
Oh.
But we can bless anointing the sick oil for a particular use. So if we were to run out of anointing the sick oil, we could get some olive oil and then bless it for that one anointing, and then we'd have to dispose of it. But we can't bless it for a long period of time like the bishop can.
I see.
Is that
I did not-
interesting?
It is interesting.
I'd have to double check on the chrism, like if like you're in a place where there's no access to the bishop, if there's some permission or something like that. But
The desert island scenario.
right,
Uh-huh.
but
But that is not necessary for the sacrament for baptism.
not for baptism,
Not
but
for-
for confirmation it is.
Well, sure, but-
yeah, certainly.
yeah.
Mm.
But like in danger of death,
No,
you would baptize and you wouldn't anoint with chrism or whatever.
exactly.
You just
But it's kind of fascinating. There are certain things that we just can't do. We just need permission from the bishop to do, or we need either permission, or we can only do it in one like limited circumstance, or we just can't do it. I'm not sure if the priest has ever given permission to anoint chrism, to
Bless
consecrate chrism. He might be, but I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head.
And Carly, you say chrism might just be the best smell in the world. It's right up there, top 5.
Part of our job / voluntold thing to do this past year as spirituality year was actually fill the little bottles and make the chrism oil, for the whole diocese of Denver.
What?
Yes. So it was super fun. It was super messy. There was olive oil everywhere. And then so basically how we did it is we had like these 2 giant, hopefully this doesn't like scandalize anybody, or lose the mystery of chrism oil, but these 2 giant like tea, I forget, but
we do here,
spouts,
yeah.
And so put a whole bunch of oil in them, and then filled like ketchup bottles essentially with the oil, and then filled the little bottles with the ketchup bottles. So that was that was just olive oil, and that's for the oil of the
Sick and the oil of
of the sick
catechumen.
and that. Okay, so those 2, and then for the chrism oil we had this like little jar of just like balsam like extract essentially. It was just like super concentrated
Can you
balsam.
define what balsam is to me?
I cannot.
It's like a tree thing.
Yeah, some type of tree.
It's,
Most like scents in the church are tree things, I think.
it's true.
Frankincense and
All ents.
Mhm.
Souls of ents.
yes. But so then we just poured this jar of balsam into the big vat of oil, and then everything smelled like oil, and everything was oily, and it was great.
Yeah. But that chrism oil, whenever I have a baptism or whatever, my shama smells all good all day long. And
I try to get a lot of oil on the baby's head.
I do too. I make a whole oily mess. Now, I just make like kind of big circle on there.
Oh, yeah?
Some people do the cross, but
I do a cross. I don't really know if there was any. I'd have to
I-
check to see what the
I don't-
rubric on that
Right.
is, if there is.
Yeah.
any.
It doesn't say that in the book. It just
doesn't
says
say that,
so I just.
Put some- I'll put
But
a
it
little
says it
cross
needs to be
there.
on the crown of the head or something. So just, and I just try to make a big oily mess. I sometimes have fun with the child's hair or whatever.
Yeah.
Just get that all, get you
He's
all
making little
going
designs in
there.
I'm imagining like the most absurd thing. Like, so I do 3 crosses, 1 triangle for the Holy Trinity, 1 circle as another sign of the Holy Trinity. And then I finish up with 1 more cross and pat the little kid's head.
Because you make the sign of the cross at the beginning when you cross the
Uh-huh.
cross on the forehead. And then the parents and godparents do the same thing.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But for the anointings, I haven't seen anything that says it's a cross. But
I have no idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I just
the
do
one on
that
the
as,
chest.
like,
And then,
right. I always do it in sign of the cross because it's just an easy way of doing it. Doing like an octagon would be a lot more difficult.
That's right. Before the perfection that you will receive in the
Exactly, the
number,
octagon would make
yes.
sense because it's the
The
eighth
eighth
day,
day.
so you're entering into that's a traditional symbol. The eighth day is the
Mhm.
day of resurrection.
not the octagon.
So if you look around Good Shepherd Church, you'll see octagons everywhere.
Yeah.
I think the altar is in the shape of an octagon.
Oh.
There's kind of patterns on the floor of the sanctuary that, those are in octagons as well.
Oh yeah.
The entire church is an octagon as well, so I think.
Yeah, you might be right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
look out for it the next time.
Yeah,
Church.
I wonder if that was intentional for the perfection, the eighth day.
I
or-
presume so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a lot of symbolism that is very understated in the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that might be Donna.
Oh, okay. That kind of scared me.
Okay.
But I also, I think I mentioned this before to you that it feels also archy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Have
Um,
you've been in St. James's Chapel, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's very arc-like,
Yeah.
archetypical.
Mm-hmm. At my old parish was Purity Mary. It was supposed to be shaped like the bottom of a ship. So it was,
Uh-huh.
you were basically an upside down ship,
right,
like the Ark.
right.
I don't know why upside down,
Why?
but that's. Because you can't really
It's
make
a
it up
mystery to
right
me,
side up
but-
down, Jake.
You'd all be like falling into the middle. Come in, you just kind of slide down to the pews.
It happens.
But yeah, that kind of that top part just kind of reminds me of the pictures that you see of like the Ark or whatever.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, for sure.
Thing with Noah and everything, and that is an image of the church, right? That we are the Ark,
Ark of Salvation.
the Ark of Salvation. So it's a nice symbol there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
It's fascinating.
Architecture.
It's a little bit of a shame in some ways that the symbols of the church aren't a little bit more self-explanatory.
mm-hmm.
Because we have the 12 pillars for the 12 apostles,
Right.
and there's no symbol there to
Right.
say that. It would almost be nice to have like a little image of each apostle. On each
Wait,
one.
in Good Shepherd, there's 12 pillars?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 12 pillars, and then there's two. I think
Well,
might
then
be
you have
the
the
big ones.
center.
The four, which are the four evangelists.
4 evangelists, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And it would be helpful just to have like a little pendant or something there,
Right.
or you don't want to take too much of an emphasis on them because then you would get some of the artistry of the church, which is a little bit more stark.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to put too much art, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
but something there to make it so it's more knowable.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was telling you, but we had a very interesting talk by one of the what's his name, that helped with St. Michael with the church. He's got a degree or a doctorate or whatever in architecture. He used to teach at Mundelein, and now I think he's a Benedictine.
Oh, is it Jeff?
Not Jeff.
No, I don't remember.
Whatever his name is. It was a very interesting
Not
talk.
Tucker.
No.
Not Tucker. Okay. There's another guy that I'm thinking of. Curtis.
No. No. I don't-
Dan. I don't know.
Bill?
Yeah.
Donkey.
Anyway, donkey.
What about Stroik? Is Stroik doing that work? Duncan Stroik? No.
No. Anyway, he's I think he's got his degree in art and architecture. Anyway, he gave so I'm on the fine arts board or whatever for the diocese, and talking about art and music and all these things. Anyway, we had an art show for adults where the adults would submit their thing, and he gave like a talk at this presentation. And it was really good. And he was talking about the distinction of devotional art versus liturgical art.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I'd never really heard that distinction before. And it was Dennis. It is Dennis. That much I know.
Okay.
Um,
I think I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember his name. Yeah.
Anyway, it was an interesting thing. The difference between liturgical art and devotional art. And liturgical art, and his distinction was it leads you into the liturgy, into the meditation on the liturgy. So, like if you look at some of the classic churches, have those high altars, and some people might have that sense. Oh, there's just so much going on. But the idea is it's supposed to lead you to the divine mystery that we're
It's
celebrating.
literally supposed to raise your head.
Uh huh.
Mhm.
Right.
Which is one reason why I tend to do my elevation so high. I'm literally trying to make you look up.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
So liturgical art is meant to lift you up, look up, and I think our church does that very well too, because that the high space, it's very high up there, as we learned, also trying to change those lights. But I mean, then the cross is way high up, so that the whole thing it's supposed to lift you up high, which I get that sense when I come into the Good Shepherd. High ceilings are meant to kind of lift you up, but also just the difference between a devotional art and liturgical art. There's nothing wrong with either one of them, but sometimes I think we just add more statues or whatever, and statues on the whole are devotional art. Not always, but like if you got like angels there are meant to like remind you that the angels are present there, right, and celebrating, like you have the saints or whatever. But like the Pietà or whatever, that like Christ the King has a Pietà in the kind of back of the church and kind of a nook.
Oh yeah.
Right,
It's more devotional there.
Right, and so that's meant to be a devotional art space, right? So I think that Good Shepherd, it's a little bit limited on its art at the moment, but I also like the fact that there's not just a whole bunch of devotional art just thrown in. Let's throw in some stuff to thing, but what I'd like to do, and I was talking to someone about this, I think it'd be really cool if we could have something like going around the back walls of the saints or whatever.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
Some sort of images, and I was thinking,
and you kind of have then, if it's, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm thinking here, like, if you have the saints around there, then you have the community of saints that are surrounding us in the liturgy. But it also is a devotional element too. So you have like an intersection between devotion and liturgy right there.
There's a church in Denver, St. Thomas More, that has that kind of idea. Like there's kind of stained glass all around. Maybe it's just kind of more towards the front, but it's definitely on the wall. So basically on the outside, and a whole bunch of saints and St. Thomas More and St. John. Yeah.
That's what I'd like to have around the edge of the church. Now, I don't want to just go by, because one of the other things I love about our church is it's all original, basically. So there's no, like, all of the stations are original, the cross is original. There's no, we didn't just go and buy some Italian, right. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get, commission some person to do art or whatever. And I was thinking some sort of, because it's a modern church.
More modern saints, that'd be really cool.
Well, modern saints, but kind of, I was thinking if there could be some sort of, because I think like an icon, inspired by an icon kind of thing, but not just like a really traditional icon, but inspired by that style, I think would really fit well on the stone back there. A bunch of kind of icon,
kind of that modern iconography look there.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
I think that'd be really cool to have that along the back. So
I think so too.
But I also want it to be original. I wouldn't want just to go and let's go buy something off the internet. We don't have, the only thing we have of that possibly would be our Our Lady of Guadalupe, which we would need in Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah, exactly.
But it'd be also good to have maybe a somewhat original of that too. But that one works for us for now. But that's the only one I know of that's.
That's fascinating. That's a good idea.
But yeah, I think there could be, and then it'd be nice to have like something like on those pillars or something as well with the evangelist, some sort of symbol of the lion or the that'd be
really cool.
Yeah. So
because there is a certain dance you have to have that you don't want liturgical art to be obvious. Because it's a subtle thing. It leads you in there. So a lot of people want it to be really obvious to them, so they can seem like, oh, this means this. But we're not. Liturgical art is not necessarily trying to lead you to that movement. And movement of interpretation is leading you to a movement of orientation. Like when you walk in, all your senses are automatically oriented just by the architecture itself. Right. And so it's a different situation. So it's a dance. You want it to be interpretable, but you don't want it to be obvious. It's interesting.
Right.
Bishop Barron talks about this at one point. He was talking about when he went to go say Mass in one of the old Baroque churches at one point. And Baroque is art form that's like 17th, 18th century-ish, 16th, 17th century, 18th century-ish, and it has a lot. It's trying to show the breaking into heaven, into the church space. So when you look, there's a lot of angelic imagery, there's a lot of saints imagery, and really good Baroque art is not necessarily overwhelming, but it's all there's just a lot going on in it. And he says that one day he was going to say Mass, and I believe this was him, and he didn't really get the Baroque art that much until he got to the consecration and then the elevation. And as he elevated the Blessed Sacrament, he realized that every angel in his vicinity and maybe in the whole church was looking exactly at the host. And it only made sense to him when he had raised up the host. And suddenly he saw how every angel wasn't just looking randomly in one it was all oriented to exactly where his hands would go for the
Nice.
host. And that's a great example of what liturgical art does. It unites things, and all these different, these separate pieces are all united in this one action of liturgy.
Which, like, when you have those high altars in some of those churches, you know, in the Second Vatican Council, when they moved the altar out, it would have made much more sense because those you sometimes see like angels like this, and like, what are they doing? Why are they just? Well, they're looking at where the host would be elevated at the
high altar.
At the high altar, right? So that's the whole point. And when we don't celebrate the high altar anymore, it loses a little bit of its meaning. And so,
Right.
but it's modeling that. That's it hasn't happened yet, but I'd like for that screen. You know, we have the screen in our church, which it's there, and we're trying to use it to the best of our abilities. And when I came here, it was just kind of black for the Eucharistic prayer. You know, which makes sense. You want people to be distracted, but I kind of find a big black screen distracting. So the thought was, can we put up a stable image that directs us to the celebration of the Eucharist? My original idea, and I still would like to see if we can find some art that would kind of be angels or whatever directing us to the celebration that's right there at the altar. So, but we have right now we have kind of a Eucharistic image or whatever up there at the moment, and I just think that's just myself. It's better than just straight black, because it's like, why is there nothing on the screen? Especially when other parts there is like music or whatever on the screen. And then the most sacred part, there's nothing. It's like, well, let's elevate this too. That's kind of the idea. So, but I would like to get an image that has kind of angels looking directly, and maybe can commission someone to do like a
That'd be interesting. I mean, you might even be able to get a talented high schooler or something.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not just saying just throw it to high school, but
Sure.
there might be somebody in our parish who's really talented who could do something like that.
And maybe that's something to ask in quarantine too. It's like, hey, you doing anything?
Because I'm not in love with the image that we have right now, because it's a picture of bread and wine, and that's not obviously bad. We have bread and wine there, but it's kind of weird to have that image right there when we have the bread and wine.
I concur.
You know what I mean? When we have
I
the
concur.
wine. It's kind of weird.
I concur, but for me, it's
better than nothing.
It's better than a black screen, and
Yeah.
it's so. But yeah, but my hope is that we can get something that that leads us. So I'm just thinking of that as our high altar, if you will, but it's like a digital high altar.
Kind of a reredos in a certain way.
Reredos.
Reredos. Yeah.
Reredos.
You're gonna have to explain what that word means.
A reredos is basically the. It is a structure. It is a high structure in the back of a church, in the front of the church, that often holds the designs or the liturgical art in a certain way.
Is that Holy Spirit at St. Peter's? Is that a reredos? A picture of the dove or whatever.
No.
That's very okay. What is that?
That's like a rose window of sorts.
Okay.
It's hard to explain.
Okay.
Do you have a better
Reredos.
explanation for what a reredos is?
No, but I mean, I think high altar kind of
Yeah.
in our conversation, they're pretty synonymous. What we're saying is essentially like the reredos, the high altar.
It's an ornamental screen covering the wall at the back of an altar.
Ornament.
Okay, yeah. So is that what's that? Is that the apse or what's that? The kind of.
So this is kind of what we're looking at there. Kind of a reredos.
Oh, okay, yeah. The whole Ascension used to have a reredos, basically.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
big stained glass thing that was up there that they've taken down. I don't remember where they did that.
But they kind of still have a reredos, kind of with the stained glass right behind the tabernacle at Ascension. That's kind of a reredos.
But didn't they take that down?
Well, they just put the stained glass in the wall.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying it's a true reredos. I'm just saying.
Sure, it's right. That same kind of stuff.
Analogically speaking.
Analogically speaking.
So.
But also, I like that. You know, at Holy Trinity, people might be familiar with that. They've got the wheat and
Yeah.
grapes that are back there, which looks lovely. You get up really close to it, and it looks terrible, but it looks like it's like kind of gold encrusted or whatever. But it's just a cover for the screen that they have there, that's the same kind of idea, putting a cover on that screen to give an image
Yeah.
Okay.
during Mass. So instead of actually installing a cover to cover the screen, using the screen as its own cover is kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you have any questions for us here? I was thinking that maybe it would be good for us on Thursday when we're all together again, if we have any other recommendations of YouTube shows or anything or podcasts that maybe we could recommend when we are no longer with people every day like we have been. What's going to fill the void?
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about that.
I've got one already.
Do you? What do you got?
Catholic Stuff You Should Know.
Oh yeah.
It's a podcast. It's so there's a group of priests in Denver. They're in a fraternal group. It's not like a religious order, but they're called the Companions of Christ, I think. But so a lot of them, they are pastors at different parishes, but they'll live in the same house. That's just kind of their model. The idea of the priest, he's not, his priesthood is in relationship with others as well. So they live with each other, but they also have this awesome podcast where they talk about Catholic stuff.
That's a good suggestion.
That you should know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another podcast called Stuff You Should Know, which I was listening to. It was very popular, which I used to listen to. I don't listen to it as much as I used to, but I haven't listened to it for quite some time. But I think there was a spin-off of Catholic Stuff You Should Know. Like this show is a spin-off of
FDR.
Yeah,
FDR.
yeah, exactly.
Fireside Chat. I mean,
We are basically the spiritual children of FDR.
Please no.
well, no, just spinning off that same language that is familiar. Fireside Chat. Oh, I've heard
I know.
that before. Stuff You Should Know. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
that before. But Catholic Stuff You Should Know.
Catholic Stuff You Should Know. And you get to hear perspectives from priests, which is,
Yeah.
we're getting that here as well, but
Right. That's a good suggestion. Is it the same people it's always been?
yeah, and so they kind of rotate in and out. Like Father John Nepple, I think he's in it quite often. And,
Because there was let's see here.
My buttons.
Yeah, I think that guy.
What's his name?
I think he
Father
came
Nathan
in.
Goebel.
But the middle guy, whoever that is.
Yeah.
Nathan Goebel.
Yeah.
I think he's a friend of Nick Block.
Yeah, they're all friends. Because I think Father Blaha might be a companion. I don't really know how that...
I don't think
He came and
Okay.
stayed at the rectory one day.
And they were both involved in Focus as well. Father
So
Nathan Goebel and...
There they are. I guess that's them. I don't know what they're drinking, but
they like
Catholics-
whiskey.
yeah, Catholic Stuff You Should Know. So I guess those are the priests hanging out together by the fireplace.
Mhm.
So anyway, good recommendation. I have listened to them a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's been some time. So
And they're also entertaining too. So.
yeah, because that's that have a similar kind of context. Also on Catholic radio, there's some shows that are, and I don't listen to Catholic radio too much myself, but there's some good programs there on EWTN radio.
Yeah.
So
Anything interesting?
trying to
We'll have to do some research.
we'll do a little bit of research.
I have my own podcast I listen to, but they may not be particularly exciting to people. It's
5:38.
5:30. I do listen to 5:38, but I also listen to the Thomistic, talking with Thomas and things like that. But I'm not sure exactly if that's everybody's jam.
Abiding Together. Yeah, I have heard of that too. Abiding Together. Let me see if I can find that little. Find a picture of that. Abiding Together. Is that a local thing? Or have I just heard about people talking about? Okay, these seem like they're holier people.
Holier people then.
Than the
The priests.
priests, because they're like not drinking whiskey.
Oh,
They're sitting around drinking coffee or something. That didn't work. Let me try this again. So Abiding Together. Oh, this looks like it'll be a good one. Let's see if I can make this picture work. I cleaned up my desktop. Look at that. It's much better. It's not great yet, but
How about that?
but the problem with this is that sometimes it won't recognize my pictures now because if it's not where it was, it gets confused. So let's see if I can pull this in here. There we go. Very tiny. So abiding together.
Oh, this is
Here's a picture of these people. I presume that's the right one there, Teresa. So good recommendation. Yeah, let us know what else you would recommend. What else can you listen to that? I also like the Bishop Barron show is good too. He does that. I think he does it
Word on
weekly.
Fire. He's starting to do also a series of homilies. So they're actually called weekly sermons or something like that. And he's actually making those for oriented towards non-Catholics, which is interesting. So that's why they're called sermons, not homilies. So he's not necessarily doing it off the readings from the week or anything, but he is trying to do some outreach so that if a non-Catholic is interested in the faith, or maybe even non-Christian is interested in faith, there's also a weekly sermon by him. So that might be good. I don't know anything about it. I've just seen it.
I think that's kind of his jam, is especially reaching out to to non-Catholics, non-Christians, in a similar way, if you will, than to like Paul, and maybe the similar to Paul compared to Peter. Bishop Barron gets criticized sometimes. I think that he's not ministering as well to Catholics, and why is he not hitting this point home more? And I think if you compare it scripturally to like the Acts of the Apostles, he's more like Paul than a Peter, if you will, going out to the outliers, ministering to the Gentiles, and not to the flock that. He's great with the flock that's here too. So don't get me wrong, but so is Paul, I would say. But he leans, I think, to where are the lost sheep? Where are the outliers? And he's been very much on the web. But he's got the Word on Fire show. I think comes out once a week, and that's with a layperson co-host there. Okay. But then all of his stuff is. He was one of the teachers at seminary at Mundelein. He's just he's very intelligent, but he's got a way of, I think, kind of boiling it down to stuff that's pretty understandable. He still uses some big words sometimes, but you don't have to have like a theology degree usually to understand Bishop Barron.
He's very understandable,
but also not really watered down like. I think like he's not as approachable as what's his bucket.
Like a Matthew Kelly or something like that? Yeah. What?
Nothing.
Did my disdain show itself on my face? I'm sorry.
like a Matthew Kelly.
Sorry.
I like Matthew Kelly. He's very readable, but sometimes he gets a little bit criticized for not having as much substance. So.
Right. He's not bad at all. I have no real criticisms of his good stuff. I think he's gotten. It seems to me, from my perspective, that he's spread himself out a little bit too thin, and a lot of his materials as of late seem really less than helpful to people. Pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
Every time I turn around, he's got another project, and it's kind of the same as the last project. So.
Right. Right. It's quite the thing that he's got built up, and then anything from Ascension Press too.
Oh, Ascension Press is really good.
And they usually have lots of. They often have lots of people at different conversations. So if you're looking for this kind of banter and stuff, there's a married couple there that talks. There's some priests that get together and talk. So anything by Ascension Press.
And if you're looking for this kind of banter, you might want to talk to your psychologist. So there are some other resources. Maybe we can put some better links out for people too, because we know this has been a good thing for many people of having Catholics talk about faith and culture and being all over the place. I think that's what this show has been. Something that has been that we can offer for people is we talk about episode 2. There we go. I did it for you. For Star Wars, then we talk about cooking. We talk about birds, but we also try to talk about some more. Well, we weren't actually talking about birds
because they aren't real.
Exactly. That's the most important part of the conversation.
The animatrons the government wants you to think are birds.
Are birds, exactly.
Right.
I'm on board with that.
I will point out that since we had that conversation, that bird doesn't come to our window anymore.
Bird watching goes.
I think
both
they're
ways.
on us. They know that we know.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not coming to us anymore.
Exactly. So they're trying to keep back and lay low for a little while so that we forget. I won't forget. I know.
And we are still
Forget.
planning on doing something weekly. So
certainly.
we don't know exactly what that'll look like yet. We're probably going to film away from our fireplace, but probably back over the church somewhere in the building. So we're not. Basically, the only reason we're taking this equipment back anymore now is for this show,
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
which we're happy to do, but it can be a lot of moving back and forth of stuff. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
it's only. I mean, this is I don't know how much this camera costs, but I get a little nervous sometimes when I transfer. It only takes because the other poor camera's taking a beating, but
It really has.
keeps on falling over. We've been very careful with this camera, but
There are a couple of things I think we should do after this. Like, if we get out of all this and everything's back to normal, I want to create a little display in our worship space. Not in our worship space, sorry. In our not our worship space, sorry. The gathering space that just says, with that dongle and the other camera, and be like, these two things got us through coronavirus 2020.
in memoriam.
This is that little dongle.
Oh my goodness.
So we have to have a dongle that connects all of the
Audio,
cords,
video.
into the computer, and it is a sad-looking little thing anymore. It looks fine right now if you look at it, but if you touch it, it just starts to fall apart in your hands.
Oh, dongle, my dongle. This thing here. This connects everything, and it also doesn't necessarily hang very well off the computer.
It looks fine right now in that image, but if you were to touch it, it just kind of all crumbles.
The unsung hero.
Oh, great dongle. So I will be here tomorrow. I will be here Wednesday. So the two of us will be here tomorrow. The two of us will be here Wednesday. And then the whole cast will be here for one last hurrah.
One last hurrah. You should
On
get
Thursday.
Father Anthony Merschman to come in as well.
Oh, that'd be fun.
The entire
No.
cast, of course.
It's true. That's true. That's worth
That's
it.
actually a really good idea.
Now he's on vacation.
So
But
we might give him a call.
this might be something he might be interested in doing,
Yeah,
just to
absolutely.
come in. And that's a good idea. The whole cast.
I was going to give him a call right after this anyway, so I'll mention it to him.
Okay, see if he wants to come in on Thursday.
Mhm. Perfect.
That'd be fun. Let's see here. Any other things we can? Any other questions that you might have for us today? I'm not sure if I got anything else.
Yeah, off the top of my head, don't know.
Yeah, what did we do this weekend? Anything other exciting? I mean, we had the wedding. That was nice for me and Jacob. That was a great celebration.
Me and Jacob's wedding was wonderful.
Yes.
We had at the same time, right after me and Jacob's wedding, which was a beautiful wedding, they had a parade, and that interrupted in a certain way our confessions, and so we had a really interesting situation to where we had a parade of cars, and I was directing sinners over here. So I was like, sinners who wish to confess, come over here. Sinners who want to avoid confession, go over there. You know what I mean?
Parade.
Yeah.
Confession. Sinners over there. Sinners to the left of me. Sinners to the right.
Yeah.
Here I am, right stuck in the middle with you. Yeah. So that was. And someone did ask. Someone asked. They were watching the video, which is I mean they wanted it live stream, so anyone's welcome. So you can go wedding crash. But we were asked. Now, why did the wedding get to go longer than 45 minutes, and we have to be so strict about 45 minutes at Sunday? And well,
It takes extra time. It just does, yeah.
it does, and we still try. I mean, the goal is still 45 minutes, but and we tried to move things along somewhat, but yeah, it's a wedding day. It's important. They already restricted their guests and everything, and so I didn't want to.
And the bishop himself said, our goal is 45 minutes, but if it needs to go longer because of extra sacraments, and the matrimony is an extra sacrament, then we're okay.
Right. So we're still trying to. So don't get any funny ideas like, well, I guess that went longer. I guess we can. No, we're still aiming for 45 minutes. Well, always for whatever we're doing, but you just gotta also. I mean, theoretically, you only get married once in case of death or other circumstances. So it's a big day, and we just wanted to honor that. And it was beautiful to celebrate with them, and we've been working with them with marriage prep for the past.
There's some of the kids
year
from
and
our
a half.
parish.
Yeah,
that went
right.
through our youth program, and so it's
Yeah.
beautiful to be able to see that.
Yeah, they met at youth group, and so
Mhm.
it was neat.
Right.
So it was
You gave me a little challenge,
I did.
which was
Well, I'm not sure if everyone knows what you're doing. Have we made that kind of announcement?
so I have made an announcement to families I've been working with. I have taken on the responsibility for what we might call like all youth ministry in the parish. So I'm not doing faith formation necessarily, though I'll be working with Miguel to make sure the programs work together and that sort of thing. But I will be doing youth ministry with particular emphasis on middle school and high school now. So
Mhm.
that's very exciting. I'm very excited. I've been working really hard over the last couple of weeks trying to get things set up. And,
Yeah. So Mary Mueller is going to be moving more to kind of all adult formation, including RCIA.
Mhm.
So
I am divesting myself of RCIA, handing it to her, and she's very excited about RCIA too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's really great about this is I think we both have things we're really excited about.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing both programs grow.
So anyway, I challenged you at the wedding. Because I said, this is the goal. We want all of the kids to marry each other or go to other holy vocations.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really neat. So great celebration with them. And then other than that, not too much this past weekend. So
Mm-hmm.
Bible study. I was working on that a lot on Friday.
Yeah. I had Via yesterday at 3 and
That's the junior high.
junior high. Exactly. We're continuing Via at 3. At every Sunday. We might need to adjust the timing depending in the future, but that's my current plan. We had to move it to 3 o'clock rather than having it at 11 o'clock as it was previously, just because of the live streaming masses and everything for so long. Sunday morning was taking a very different track, and it still is.
Sure,
so,
right.
um,
The 10 o'clock mass was. I was saying yesterday we are getting close to needing to possibly think about
having a third
mass in English because we're just having the 2 at the moment. 8 o'clock was fullish, and when I'm saying full, I mean 125. Our maximum of 25%. So I'm not saying a full church. Don't hear me wrong, but as the ushers are walking around, we have to keep the 6 feet distance for households. And they were running out of spots of where they could put people. Now, if we didn't have to maintain 6 feet distance, there was plenty of room. But they were running out of spots where they could put people. So we are possibly getting close to adding another mass. And that would be what we're thinking anyway at the moment would be the Sunday 5. But we could renegotiate that as well. So
right. No, don't add. Okay. We can only get like 10 seconds before they do this, so let's see. In reference to what people are saying. Matchmaker match from Fiddler on the Roof.
very good.
And there we go.
DMCA.
Got it. Don't get us YouTubes.
I'm not sure if we're going to be heard, but yes, matchmaker.
Give me a match.
Yep.
Find me a fine.
So, so we'll have to reconfigure our Sunday a little bit more as we discuss this in the future. So.
Right. We do have a staff meeting on Wednesday, so if you have anything that you'd like us, send me an email. I'm happy to consider those things too. So.
Right. I don't know for Via and any Via parents who would like to give me some input. Timing is really tough right now on Sundays, trying to figure out what we need to do, because if we add a mass, it would probably be a Sunday evening mass. Probably. We haven't discussed that. But that may make us need to change a 3 o'clock time. So we might need to return it back to the morning. And I know a lot of people aren't going in the afternoon because that's prime time to go to the park and that sort of thing.
Right.
So we might need to do that. But if you have any suggestions on a better time, please send it over to me, because I don't quite know exactly what to do at the moment.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Good. So yeah, we're rolling.
oh, hey, my bad. bad.
Rolling with various things. I also I'm doing we've been doing these concerts, and I'm gonna do one. Raffaele invited me to do a concert with some of my music and the band. We can't play any like I can play my music because I own it, right? So I won't get sued. But we can. So we're gonna do a little concert. We've been doing those concert series. So I'm gonna do that on Saturday evening. We have a little practice night. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't get a chance to play music very often with other people. I sometimes play in my room, but it'll be nice to play with some of our talented musicians here at Good Shepherd. So
Absolutely.
it'll be a live stream concert like we've been doing. It'll be a little different because we're not going to be singing like the church music, and I've been thinking people might complain like, feels like a performance. Well, yes, that's what we're going for. So hopefully it'll be enjoyable, and so my music is written like inspired from the saints or the Bible or whatever, and so hopefully it'll be a fun thing for people in the evening, and I'm looking forward to playing with some very talented musicians. So
Yeah.
it'll be nice.
Oh, and on Saturday, John and I went to the coffee shop
Oh, yeah,
of my
the-
mother.
right.
And so we went, and it's still work in progress. They're still adding some things, but it's looking pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
Things are a little
Yeah.
more set up this time. My little brother and my mom are doing a fantastic job.
They are.
And while we were there,
Mhm.
guess who we saw? We saw Jen and her family there too.
Mhm.
Jen, who is Jen Jenkins,
Oh,
who's obviously
really?
often joining us. So she
Yes.
was with us today.
Yes.
She was
And
here.
we had a fantastic time. My mother talked her ear off because that's what my mom does, and we had a great time.
Yeah, it
Her,
was great.
Jen's boy told me about Transformers.
Yes.
and, it was really lovely. So please go and check out my mom's coffee shop. My mom and my little brother are doing a fantastic job there. You can get a great cup of coffee. How was your cookie?
It was fantastic.
He's going to get some form payment afterwards for having said that. I understand. But it'll be great. So.
No, it was very good.
Carly did ask an interesting question. We're running a little bit long, but hey, we're almost done with the show. So let's. You want to jump into that question?
I don't really. I think you'd probably have to start that one off because I know a fair amount about musicals, but I don't know if I have a favorite. It's hard to say. So.
So probably the best show I've ever seen was Lion King on Broadway. That was amazing. I've only been to New York like 2 or 3 times, and since I go so infrequently, so I'm not like bragging. Look, I got to, but because it was a big deal back in the day. That was like the Hamilton. There's always that one musical you can't get tickets to.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. All the puppetry and dance and just a really cool coordination of all those things. So that's probably the best show I've ever seen. It was pretty amazing. So favorite musicals. So, Fiddler on the Roof is brilliant. It's a wonderful show.
It's one of the best.
I did that when I was in high school. That was great. I love Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I think that's a really fun show.
One reason why Fiddler on the Roof is so brilliant is it's not cultural appropriation at all. It's they utterly respect the Jewish culture that they're working in.
I think especially the movie, the film, it might be Jewish actors, I'm pretty sure as well. So, just,
so it's a celebration of Jewish cultural heritage in a certain way.
Yeah.
And also not only a celebration, but a meditation on the suffering of the Jewish people, especially in Russia during that time. And so it's a brilliant show because it deals with so many of those cultural issues in a really respectful and beautiful way. And you learn a great deal about Jewish spirituality, and Jewish thought. It's really beautiful. The whole Sabbath scene is gorgeous when they're welcoming in the Sabbath, and the mother comes and she puts her hands over the candles. That's not just her being dramatic. That's actually what they do, and welcoming in the Sabbath.
and then they show in the movie. I've seen the movie, not necessarily the stage show, but in the movie they go to the different families and they're doing the same thing essentially. So it's just it's cool.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Worth a watch.
This time of the year, so I used to listen to musicals way more back when I was back in the world, but I still have my 1776 soundtrack, and that's a fun thing to listen to at this time of the year.
I just don't understand this. This is so interesting to me.
What's
this temporal based music thing that you have, seasonally based or music and movies? It's just not me at all, and I just find it fascinating.
Yes, I welcome the seasons.
Yeah, I never think it's a good, beautiful summer day. Time for a little bit of Michael Jackson.
I totally do. I have my summer music. I have my fall music. I have my spring. There are some that's year-round music, but some music I just kind of associate. This is great summer music, and 1776 is one of those. Secret Garden I consider, which could be a spring show, thinking, but Secret Garden is beautiful music. The show is okay, but the the music feels in many ways autumnal to me, so I like listening to that in the autumn. Beautiful music to Secret Garden.
Autumnal is a much better word than fallish.
Yes.
No.
So other favorite musicals. Gosh, yeah. What are your favorite musicals? There, some shows are better live than they are the recording. Like Into the Woods, I think is a great show to see live. I don't really care for the soundtrack much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of Sondheim is like that.
Yeah. Jesus Christ Superstar, I think always works better as a stage play than I don't generally sit down and listen to the music, but it usually works very much when I see it on the stage.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of like classical theater. So not classical theater, pardon me, more like the classical musical theater, like 30s, 40s, 50s. I really enjoy those. So I really enjoyed Cole Porter's musicals.
Sure. Is that Anything Goes?
Anything Goes is one of my favorites. It's just a fun show. Really great music. Another one of my favorites. A little bit of like Rodgers and Hammerstein. Rodgers and Hammerstein is good. They're not my favorite, but more of that feel. I like that theater more than modern theater. Although modern theater has actually kind of gotten. I've gotten more accustomed to it lately. So we saw. Alexa Morgan was in a great show. I'm suddenly forgetting it.
Teresa, what was that show?
Matilda.
It was awesome.
It was a fantastic show. I was not expecting it to be nearly as good.
No. To be quite honest, I'm like, well, but it was really well done, and I liked the music. That scene with the swinging scene, whatever that song was, that was great.
When I grow up.
That's right.
When
Yeah,
I
good
grow
job.
up, da, 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 da.
It's a great show.
It's a great show. You were telling me that it almost has like this mid-late Beatles feel, that particular song, with like a Paul McCartney feel to it.
Right.
At some points, but other points the music is completely different. It was really a fascinating, a brilliant show, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
So there's some newer musicals that are starting to woo me. One might say.
Les
Kiss Me
Mis is
Kate.
great.
Kiss Me Kate. That's one of the shows I was starting to think of. Fantastic show.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen Kiss Me Kate.
It's
actually.
good. It's good.
I don't know really much about that. But yeah, I used to go to the library and check out records and just listen to musicals back in the day. We were watching Starlight Express the other day, and I remember going to the library and picking up Starlight Express and everything by. Everything by what's his name? Phantom of the Opera. Who was that?
Lloyd Webber.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
Basically anything by him I would have listened to at some point. So yeah, I used to love listening to all that musical theater. My sister says, Kristen says, Journey is very good summer swimming pool music.
That's very true.
Well, yeah, and I also have a playlist that I put together of like good.
Now, question: did this start as a mixtape?
It did not.
Oh,
no,
shucks.
But music always sounds better by the lake, but some music sounds particularly better when you're at the lake, and so I put together a kind of a summer vacation lake music playlist, and so.
So. Teresa's asking if Les Mis is an opera. It's a pop opera. Pop opera. So it technically is a musical. It's a musical, technically, I think, but it's got operatic elements to it.
It's an operetta because there's one spoken line.
No. Where's the spoken line?
General something is dead, or whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
I think that line is spoken. I think that's the only line that's spoken.
Okay, interesting.
Fascinating.
So, but Bubel and Schopenheim, that's their name, like Bubel and Schopenheim.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, those are the men who wrote Les Mis. They also wrote
Miss
Saigon, and a couple other ones. And I like those. They're not like my favorites, but I enjoy some music from Miss Saigon. I enjoy a lot of the music of Les Mis.
I think we've talked about this before, but I was also amazed at the translation. The English translation of Les Mis is. I mean, I don't speak a word of French. I guess merci beaucoup. I guess I know that much, but
2 words of French.
Yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
But how hard it is to translate, and then to translate and have brilliant rhyming schemes and really good rhymes. I don't know that deserves as much credit as the original music and lyrics, because it is. I mean, like, this was not written in English, and yet these clever rhyming schemes go
Well,
on.
and they totally reworked the musical between the French production and I think it would be the West End production, because I think it was West End and then it was Broadway.
Right.
It's totally reworked, so it's not totally different. I mean, it's still the same story, but there's dramatic differences within parts of the plot and who sings what and that sort of thing. So it's fascinating to see how they all brought it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with Fiddler on the Roof is a great musical. I'm not so much into like stage dramas, so the way I get into musicals is through movies. I don't know if it counts, but La La Land is a great musical
La La
movie
Land
as well.
is- Oh, never mind. I'm not sure if I saw that.
I couldn't
It's,
get into
it's also
that one.
slightly vocational,
Is that the
Okay.
one where
but
there's the couple,
yeah,
and then at the end the couple?
yeah.
that sort of thing. Yeah. No, I did like that one.
Spoilers, but no, it's
What, they
super
just
great.
went. What does that mean?
You
don't
should
know.
watch that if you get a chance. And then also,
La La Land was a great show. I enjoyed that.
my
I
mom
could
would
not
like.
get into
He and
that.
I have
Didn't
similar
like
tastes in movies. I'm finding.
Yeah, we do.
Uh-huh.
We both love Wes Anderson as well. So.
He's great.
And then Father has the opposite taste in
I don't,
movies. So.
well, no, I don't know about opposite, but I'm not.
Well, it's like everything we like, you don't, and then. So that's like the definition of opposite. I think.
That's not true. But that's funny.
But I think a good movie that would be a good musical or stage drama is Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones. We got it in for the second time. Just imagine it. Try to imagine it. But
That would be incredible. Star Wars a musical.
Star Wars a musical. Somebody out there wants to do it. Follow your dreams. Don't let Disney take you down.
Disney taking them. That's the first. That would be the first piece too. Right before the opening crawl, which is like projected into it. It's like, who would it would be Leia just coming out with "Don't let Disney." No, Chewie. Chewie comes out singing "Don't let Disney take you down."
Don't let. Okay. We'll work on it.
Oh, that's too funny. My sister mentioned the Dr. Pepper movies. Yes, I remember the Dr. Pepper movies. Is that a Topeka thing, or is that
Never
did that
heard
happen
of
here
them.
too? Well, that's way before your time. But the Dr. Pepper movies, it was like you brought in like the Dr. Pepper bottle tops or whatever, and you got admission into the movie or something like that. I don't remember, but they had this. I wish I could find the opening, but this opening to the Dr. Pepper thing. It was like this cheesy theme song or whatever. People running through the mountains or whatever. I wish I could find it, but I've Googled it before. It doesn't exist. I think it might have been a Topeka thing. I don't know, but did that happen in Kansas City? Did that happen around here? But the Dr. Pepper movies, that was a big deal. We'd go to the summer movies with some sort of connection with Dr. Pepper. But yes, I do, Kristen. I love those Dr. Pepper
I
movies.
have no idea what you're talking about.
And sometimes I hear a song and it reminds me of the Dr. Pepper intro theme, and I'm like, that sounds like the Dr. Pepper song, but it never is. And I wish I could find it, but I can't.
Huh.
I wish I knew what that was.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So, anyway, so I think that's that's about wraps it up for
does.
today. So
We ended on a high note right now, one might say.
So, all right. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back Wednesday, and we'll be back maybe with Father Anthony Mersman on.
We'll see. We
Thursday.
really
We
have
can't
no
make any
idea.
promises.
No idea whatsoever. So.
Father Anthony, if you're watching, we want you here.
And we want you for the
But we
fireside
also
chat.
want you to relax during these times. So if it works out and you got nothing else to do and you're wanting to come and hang out for a little bit, we'd love to see you. All right.
Thank you all very
so
much.
have a great rest of the day.
God bless you.
Ciao.